deal for him. Um, and I'm sure that he'll turn that team around. It's really nice. He has a top draft pick. He has, Jackson Dart to work with, Scadaboo, and many more high draft picks. So it's a good situation, I think, for the Giants. I'm sure they're going to improve as a team, with John Harbaugh as their leader. Um, but I still believe it's a good deal for them. It wouldn't be good for us because he would just, demand too much control. I know the Giants are going to give that to him. So, I mean, he's going to call all the shots. And again, I mean, that could be good for them, but uh, it wouldn't be good for us to just start back from square one again. I think we need to build off, what SpyTech did last year as far as, drafts and what direction and what the team's identity is going to be. Um, I think, that's it's a great fit for the Giants, but it wouldn't be a good fit for the Raiders. Now that Dante Moore is officially out, yesterday I mentioned that Ty Simpson most likely was going to stay in Alabama. Alabama is offering him more than $5 million to stay. I think he's now going to enter the draft because Dante Moore is, going to play another year in Oregon. It gives him an opportunity to possibly be the, you know, top two or top three quarterbacks in the draft, along with Trinidad Chambliss if he decides to declare. So that's a change, from yesterday. This is how fast everything's just kind of moving in the NFL and in college. Um, I was listening to a lot of shows yesterday, like Locked On Raiders with Q. I was listening to Mitchell Renz, listening to Hondo Carpenter, Lincoln Kennedy, um, and one thing in common that everyone kind of brought up is how the national media is really bagging the Raiders' head coaching job, and they're kind of basing it off of these one and duns or Josh McDaniels, Antonio Pierce. However, I think this is a attractive job because we're being honest with ourselves now, and Spytech mentioned it. This isn't going to be, we're not going to guarantee that we're going to win 10 games next season. This is not a rebuild, but it kind of is, right? Like we are trying to do things the right way, um, and then hopefully hit on all our drafts, and um, he's just not coming out and promising that we're going to just win a bunch of games like Pete Carroll did before the season started last season. So I think it's an attractive job, if and that's why I think we should bring in a young head coach because this is going to take some time to build. But that's the nice thing. I mean, who wouldn't want this job? I mean, you have over $100 million in cap space. You have the number one pick in the draft. You're in Vegas, no sales tax, right? Even from a living standpoint, um, I think this is a dream job, and you won't be walking on eggshells because you know this is going to take at least 2 to 3 years before everything really comes together. Now, if things come together sooner, great. That's a pleasant surprise. But I agree with just about all the Raider shows that I listen to that this is an attractive job. So I don't know why the national media is making it sound otherwise. They're just basing it off of the one and done since Gruden left. Um, Another thing that's being brought up is AJ Brown. Should the Raiders go after him if the Eagles decide to move on? And for me, just as Raider fans, right? I mean, we've seen so much divas come and go. Gosh, Randy Moss, Jerry Porter, um, Antonio Brown. The biggest bust of the receivers that we picked up, and then recently Devonte Adams, where he just kind of quit on us. I don't think I don't think we want another diva. And I know that they say all receivers are divas, but if you look at the draft picks that we picked up, like the young receivers, uh, I don't see any divas, and I think that's the identity that we are looking for. That's kind of the mold, with Vegas, at least under Spytek's regime, is that we're just gonna pick up gamers. No divas, not one man that's bigger than the team. And you saw AJ Brown; he quit on the Eagles, and they're a good team. Devontae quit on us, but we're a bad team, so you could kind of understand it more. But you know, I wouldn't want to take that chance. I'd rather use that draft money to build the line, get Max Crosby a wingman on the D line, and that's what I'd want to do, and just hopefully Thornton and Besh, could step up. Trey Tucker. I know we still do need our number one receiver. Maybe we could get him in the draft. Um, but AJ Brown, I think I'm gonna pass on that. And I wouldn't be surprised if Philly, brings him back. But right now, it looks like there's a possibility that he could be on the market. Tomlin, I don't think, we talked about that yesterday. I don't think there's too much to discuss there. I mean, if we wanted Tomlin, we'd have to give up picks if he even decides to continue coaching. Um, it sounds like now he might not even want to coach. So, um, I'm okay with Tomlin. I don't really want that. Um, Another thing I wanted to kind of bring up, it's a older comment from a few days ago. Let me see if I can read that. It's from Vincent Garzo. No, Vincent Garzoli, 3137. Um, he had a really good comment that he left with me, so I thought I'd read it because a lot of it does make sense, and I'm sure a lot of Raider Nation feels the same way he feels. So I'm just gonna read Vincent Garzoli's 3197's comment. I think is a really good one. Thanks, Vincent. So here it is. Although I have stood by the notion that John is the better Harbaugh as HC, I'm not inclined to support having any coach pick their GM. Isn't that kind of what happened with Mick Disaster and Ziegler? Yep, good point. Kobiak is probably the odds-on favorite at the moment. I like Jesse Minter, whom I'm convinced will be a head coach somewhere in the future, but I expect we will be prioritizing an offensive coach. So maybe Davis Webb, who reportedly had an amazing interview, so he could be in the mix. I don't think it would hurt to try and get Cognetti for an interview, though he is likely staying at Indiana or at least in the NCAAF. No Stefanski. I think he sabotaged Cleveland multiple times. Um, I mean, just looking in from the outside, that makes sense. Tomlin, I like him personally, but have never been sold on his success being his own and not inheriting the core of players that Cowher put together. Flores, hell no. McDaniel as OC, yes. HC, no. So that's good. Nagy, GTFOOH. Get the fuck out. No. Vance Joseph, great DC, but no real buzz about him as a potential HC. Joe Brady, not out of the question, but a long shot. I don't know. Still need better coaches for the O line and special teams. I agree 100%. And a strength and conditioning coach. Our OL wasn't getting beaten by moves. They were frequently getting pushed backwards 2 or 3 yards into Gino and Genti. That just cannot happen. If an offense is to function at all, never mind, be competitive. Robert Saleh, maybe as an upgrade to Patrick Graham, debatable but possible. I mean, Kobiak head coach, McDaniel OC, and Saleh DC all worked well under Kyle Shanahan's 49ers way, and with a GM from the Buccaneers, John Lynch. Um, Again, Thank you, Vincent. That was a great take. So I had to, read that to the audience. Um, I agree with a lot here. And I mean, that would be great to have, Robert Saleh as our DC. I don't think it's going to happen unless, we do get our head coach, like if it's Kobiak and he says, I want Robert Saleh to interview as the as a DC, it could possibly happen. But I know that the Raiders offered him a ton of money last season to be the OC, and I mean the DC, and he declined to stay with San Francisco. So I would love that. I just think wherever Robert Saleh goes next, if he leaves the Niners, it's going to be as a head coach. I know he's actually interviewing he has a head coach interview coming up with the Cardinals and I think a couple other teams. So I think Salah's only going to be a head coach. Um, as far as McDaniels as the OC, I'd love that if that's what Kobiak wants. I don't see Mike McDaniels going anywhere else as a head coach. So if whoever we hire as our head coach wants Mike McDaniel to interview, I think he'd be great. So, what are your thoughts, Raider Nation? Thank you for tuning in. If you like what we were talking about, please like, subscribe. Feel free to leave me some comments, and I'll be happy to get back to you. Um, and yes, peace out, Raider Nation. It's Friday tomorrow. Happy Thursday. Thank you for listening to me, kind of nasally, a little under the weather, but there was just a lot of things to go over today, and I wanted to make sure that I got to Vince's comment because he really broke it down. So, all right, Raider Nation, peace out.